And the winner of the first ever MTV Wannabe VJ contest is Jesse.
He was not somebody that you typically see on TV. Hey! Oh! Hey!
He was like a psychedelic version of Grover.
In the spring of '98, teenage slacker Jesse Camp became the hottest thing on MTV.
I was like totally like a household name. You'd be on the street, and like everyone would be like, "Yo, Jesse!"
Jesse!
A nationwide talent search made Jesse a star, but his outlandish personality proved problematic.
Jesse Camp will be formally inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Annoying Dumbasses.
I can't lie, I did some out there stuff.
Our responsibility was really just to connect two people together.
Sean Fanning connected a generation and downloaded a revolution named Napster.
It started out perhaps innocently enough, but it became bigger than all of us.
This guy should go down as a pioneer.
I support Napster. I think they're the biggest phenomenon since the Beatles.
Sean Fanning was the most dangerous man in the music biz.
Napster's music-sharing software was a hit online, but record labels and artists lined up to hit him with lawsuits.
It's stealing, it's cheating, it's just not right.
You get the record companies and select few bands that were just bitching that they're missing out on their royalties. It is pretty amazing to see how this has grown and how many people it's affected in such a short period of time.
Sean Fanning and Jesse Camp, two young music men who marched to their own beat, straight into the white-hot spotlight of fame for 15. When thousands of wannabe VJs lined up for a contest at MTV's Manhattan studio in the spring of 1998, one fan stood out from the crowd.
There was a guy about 40 people in front of me, like this huge, tall, spiky-haired guy. And I just thought, I'm gonna be seeing this guy again.
He's the only person in those 2 days of all of those people auditioning I actually remember seeing.
When I was looking at Jesse, I'm like, you know, what's wrong with this guy?
Hey, I'm Jesse.
Jesse Camp won the VJ contest and became the new face of TNN's sister company, MTV.
Literally, my life completely changed, like right after that.
He was destined to do something and be somebody.
He seems to be from another planet, but it's a place you'd like to visit.
Jesse Camp may have seemed like a space cadet, but his roots were down to earth. Born in 1979, he grew up in the middle-class suburb of Granby, Connecticut. But while his hometown was conservative, Jesse was not.
The big discovery in high school was like the Salvation Army thrift store. We were dressing like pimps and we were looking crazy, and I had this like a huge ghetto blaster, you know, like giant radio that I always get in trouble for.
When we got MTV, there was a big change in the Camp house. Big change.
To tame their free-spirited wild child, Jesse's parents sent him to a nearby prep school. But Jesse began playing in rock bands and soon became the class clown.
I had like a crazy, huge reputation.
He was this incredibly charismatic person, instantly drew people, had really, truly what I at the time saw as a gift.
Rather than move on to college in '97, Jesse and his sister decided to further their education by driving across America.
We had a gas card, we had a car, we had some money, we had a ball.
After 8 months on the road, the Camp kids came back home. But Jesse soon moved to Manhattan with no place to stay and no job in sight.
Like I was in New York for like maybe a couple weeks, and then all of a sudden like everybody starts talking about this big contest up at MTV.
On April 13th, 1998, MTV launched a nationwide search for their next VJ.
The coveted position of MTV VJ.
In New York, more than 4,000 VJ wannabes lined up hoping to be the next Martha Quinn or Ricky Rackman.
MTV will make you famous, and it's up to you to decide what you're going to do from there.
You go in, and you had to introduce a video.
Here's Will Smith, the man who does kick alien butt with getting jiggy with it.
I kind of messed that up a little bit.
Jesse Camp was chosen as one of the 10 finalists, who next had to woo a panel of celebrity judges.
I think Kennedy was there and John Norris and Chris Kattan from Saturday Night Live. They were like the celebrity judges.
They asked like the 10 of us just to do some impressions and, you know, do some introductions and talk about yourself.
The judges selected 6 finalists.
You don't mess that crap. That's Motley Crue, Dr. Feelgood.
All right, Jesse.
A looker like you, I'm sure you just go on that street and shake your rump and you'll have guys.
Oh, like I'm a whore, Jesse.
Little by little, it got down to 2. It was me and Jesse.
The winner of the first ever MTV Wannabe VJ contest is Jesse.
People voted, and I won it, and I was totally thrilled because I never saw that coming, and it was a huge shock.
$25,000 to Jesse, our brand new MTV VJ.
The kid with the outrageous outfits and electric enthusiasm rocked MTV.
Jesse here with Stuttering John from Howard Stern Show.
Jesse was just this sort of live wire. He was capable of dropping funny one-liners.
Rock and roll will never die.
He was unabashedly a fan.
Oh my God!
And he was really exuberant.
I'm here with my women.
Jesse had suddenly gone from nobody to national notoriety.
You can never cross that line back into, you know, just being like that anonymous crazy kid. You know, now people know you.
Coming up, Jesse has trouble with the truth.
I know it's bad, and I know this kid is lying through his teeth.
Jesse Camp's not who he says he is.
And later, internet fans get their Napster.
I really couldn't come up with a good name for the software. Someone recommended that we name it Napster.
When we return with the new TNN's Fame for 15.
If you're just tuning in, you're probably thinking that we're all a bunch of one-track mind pervs.
We are.
A 6'5" goofball named Jesse Camp became the first winner of MTV's Wanna Be a VJ contest in the spring of '98.
It's Tuesday, and what? It's Tuesday, right?
Jesse's big hair and even bigger personality made him the music channel's hottest rising star.
We love you, Jesse!
Hey, all right.
MTV just kept putting me on, like, in all their different shows, and it just kind of became this big thing.
Sometimes the VJs can be a little stale, you know, and a little stiff, and he was just the bad boy VJ.
He was just hysterically funny and would always be making up these terrible poems.
New York City, it's a place to be. It's the city and the nitty-gritty. The women are pretty. Hey!
For some reason, kids really just flocked to him, and he loved it. If he wanted to start a cult, he could do it.
But Jesse's cult did not include the critics.
He made himself fair game, you know. And when you're that kind of outsized personality, you leave yourself open for it.
Split my hand! Oh no, I split him, man!
I kind of like would almost overdo like the craziness of my behavior because I thought, you know, that's what people really like.
You know, he's 18, 19 years old. It's a lot of pressure. For a while, the TV persona started to veer into the cartoonish.
I felt a little bit of sorry for him sometimes. He's got this small window, and where can you move from this character, you know?
Magazines and newspapers published profiles of MTV's sudden star. Jesse's story seemed too good to be true. As it turned out, some of it wasn't true.
Jesse was someone who had made up this biography for himself.
Jesse hid the fact that he'd grown up middle class. He lied and said he'd been homeless and that his parents were divorced.
At the time, I wanted to be like a kid who came from a trailer park in Northern California. And that's what I was. That's what I wanted to be.
Jesse had only been on MTV for 4 months in August '98 when a Spin magazine article exposed his tall tales.
That Spin thing, to me, it's really hurtful and really hateful. They missed the whole point of, like, who I was and what I'm about.
Maybe he did, you know, spend a night outdoors. So that counts as living on the street.
I told other flubbers when I felt like it, but I never lied about who I am. I mean, if anything, the fact that I lied about who my mom and dad are, like, shows so much more about me.
Jesse's deceptions surprised those closest to him.
I can't believe this guy got over on me and everybody else continuously, so it became a challenge not to get screwed anymore by Mr. Camp.
We want Jesse!
But the 19-year-old VJ remained as popular as ever with his fans.
And I know this kid is lying through his teeth, but listen to this, the 5,000 or so girls screaming his name.
At MTV, Jesse's tendency to speak too freely was getting him in more trouble.
The person on the bleeper button was always like on his or her haunches, just ready to go.
There were a couple times when I was really, really, really close to getting fired.
I think they would have preferred if Jesse was kidnapped and flown to the moon and he would have just gone away out of everybody's conscience.
But Jesse wasn't going anywhere. Thanks to his breakout fame, he landed a recording deal with Hollywood Records. Jesse went into the studio in the fall of '98 to record his first album.
It was a really cool album, like great musicians, great songs.
I love Jesse's album, and believe me, nobody wanted to hate it more than me.
Jesse Camp and the 8th Street Kids was released in May '99. After his year as a VJ, Jesse hit the road to pursue his rock and roll dreams.
I thought it was a masterpiece. I thought it was the most amazing thing, and I went around the country bragging about it, hyping it up, going crazy.
But Jesse's CD came out just as his young fans were getting camped out.
Literally everybody said, okay, we're full. We had enough of this guy. And then the album came out.
Jesse's glorious debut record sold just 2,000 copies.
I was totally devastated, and that was like the hardest summer. That really put me in a depression, really bad.
If we went to the radio station in the morning, these guys would badmouth him before he would even get on the air.
It was just a doomed project.
I was like decimated.
Jesse lost his record deal. He was down, but not defeated.
There's no doubt in my mind that I'm gonna be right up there with like my idols, like Bruce Springsteen and Bob Seger. I don't care if it sounds egotistical.
Musically, I hope that he can come back as a musician because that's where he really wants to be.
While he waits to revive his rock and roll dreams, 22-year-old Jesse is back in front of the cameras again.
All we need is one person to move all the stuff.
In the fall of 2001, he played the lead role in an independent horror film, Skinwalker.
That was a lot of fun. I wanted to do that because it seemed like a complete challenge.
Jesse came in and he read it cold and he just nailed it and he floored us.
He promised me an Oscar.
Whether or not Jesse ever takes home an Academy Award or a Grammy, he'll still be working on a sequel to the Jesse Camp story.
I think Jesse can definitely work his way back up. He is born to be in front of a camera, so he'll find a way to do it.
I'm just about being whatever I want to be. If I want to be anything, I can be it. As long as I want to be it in my heart, because I'll never be something that I don't want to be.
Coming up, Napster hits a sour note with the music industry.
We're being ripped off, and we've got to put a stop to it.
It's sometimes called the killer application of the internet.
When we return with the new TNN's Fame for 15.
Has this whole Napster thing taken you by surprise?
I think so. When I started, it was just a small project, and it's really amazed me how it took off.
Sean Fanning wasn't old enough to buy a beer in the spring of 2000, but his online file-sharing software, Napster, was driving the music industry to drink.
This is the kid that took on the 5 or 6 major record companies and shook them all up.
I just think it was a high-tech way of bootlegging.
Many recording artists and executives saw 19-year-old Sean Fanning as a thief. To his peers, he was the leader of a new music revolution.
He was doing something for rock and roll fans, for not even just rock and roll, but for music fans.
Napster saw themselves as rebels going up against an evil empire.
Sean had simply wanted to help his college pals find and share new music. What he found was a record industry determined to put Napster to sleep.
It was hard for us to think, how could they shut something down that was this valuable, that this many people loved?
The high-stakes, big-bucks battle over Napster was nothing that Sean Fanning's young life had prepared him for. Born in blue-collar Brockton, Massachusetts in 1980, Sean's upbringing hardly marked him for greatness.
My mom at the time was a nurse's aide. My father was a delivery person. I have a fairly big family, too. I have 4 younger siblings. I actually received my first computer between my sophomore and junior years of high school.
In '97, 17-year-old Sean worked as an intern for his Uncle John's video game company.
Pretty soon I got sucked in, quit most of the sports teams I was on.
After high school, Sean went to Boston's Northeastern University in '98 to study computer sciences. One of Sean's dorm mates complained that he was having trouble downloading music files from the internet.
One day, I really sat down and started to think about how can I solve this issue with a lot of these search engines that were enabling him to find music.
Sean holed up in his dorm room for hours on end, writing computer code that eliminated file sharing problems.
It quickly turned into almost an obsession because I really got sucked into it.
Napster is basically like a telephone directory or a lookup table where you can look and see who's online and what files they have to share.
You can go onto the service, think of something that's incredibly obscure and find someone else who likes it and then instantly communicate with them.
Sean gave his file-sharing program a name right off the top of his head.
It was actually a high school nickname. I was playing basketball with a friend, and we were talking trash in the game, and he said I had nappy hair. When I started working on the software, I really couldn't come up with a good name for the software, and so someone recommended that we name it Napster.
Sean sent his software to 30 friends in June 1999. Napster worked so well that Sean left college and he and his Uncle John headed for California's Silicon Valley, the heart of the dot-com explosion that was shaking up the American economy. Backed by venture capitalists, Sean set up shop in San Mateo, California, drawing a modest salary as he worked feverishly to fine-tune Napster. Meanwhile, the software Sean had first sent to 30 friends had been emailed around the world. Before he knew it, 17 million people were swapping song files via Napster.
Once it took off, there was no stopping it.
It is pretty amazing to see, how this has grown and how many people it's affected in such a short period of time.
In December '99, just 6 months after Sean created it, Napster had more users than America Online had gained in 8 years.
It gets really overwhelming to think that many people are using the software at any one time.
Napster's rapid growth caught the recording industry off guard.
At the beginning, I don't think any of the record companies took it seriously enough and realized what a threat it would become.
Coming up, Napster pays for swapping free music.
My original reason for going after him definitely wasn't to shut the company down.
You can't stop worldwide technology.
When we return with the new TNN's Fame for 15.
Napster is one of the fastest growing internet programs in history. So far, 32 million people have used it. That's music to 19-year-old Sean Fanning's ears. He's Napster's creator. 19-year-old
Sean Fanning became a rock and roll Robin Hood in the fall of '99. Using Napster, music fans could download songs free off the internet rather than buy them at a record store.
It's very much a David versus Goliath with this young kid taking on the big giant record companies who kind of have a bad rap anyway. They charge too much for CDs and they're these big faceless corporations.
But by December '99, those corporations had had enough, and the Recording Industry Association of America filed suit to shut Napster down.
The idea is to keep commercial pirates out of the marketplace so that legitimate commerce can flourish.
4 months later, in April 2000, the band Metallica and rapper Dr. Dre filed their own lawsuits against Napster.
It really is about the big intellectual property issue.
And I know there's a lot of fans out there that I've lost because of this, but I got into this business to make a living at something I really love doing.
To the artists and labels, Fanning and his subversive software were a threat.
I think there's a tendency on the part of every industry when confronted with some technological change to look at it and say, this is going to be a problem and we need to control this.
What the law says is that individual consumers have a right to share.
The sharing of music files on a peer-to-peer basis is something which has historically been done. Cassette copies and, people have borrowed records to make tapes for themselves.
Musical artists came down on both sides of the issue.
Record sales did not stop or slow down when people were downloading. They actually went up.
People are sort of downloading my music for free and I can't sell them. I can't do this anymore.
By the summer of 2000, Sean Fanning was more often in courtrooms than chat rooms. That July, a federal judge issued an injunction against Napster.
Under this decision, Napster could be shut down even before a trial on the merits.
But hours later, a federal appeals court sang a different tune.
Napster will not be shut down tonight. An appeals court has granted a stay of that federal injunction, and the service will continue operating, at least for now.
Napster was ordered to stop the swapping of copyrighted material on their network. Meanwhile, Sean became America's most celebrated web wonder boy.
My natural tendency is to be shy and just want to go work on the software. Not being anonymous anymore is pretty difficult to deal with.
Nice shirt. Nice shirt. You like it? You like it? Yeah. Actually, a friend of mine shared it with me. I'm thinking about getting my own, though.
Suddenly to have the burdens of being a celebrity, the burdens of being a spokesman, and the burdens of running a company, I think he was in over his head a little bit.
Sean was eager to stop making news and go back to writing computer code.
It never really ends, you know. I keep telling my family that just another, 2 weeks and the press will die down and I can come home.
But on October 31st, 2000, Sean was back in the headlines when the German media company Bertelsmann BMG announced it was forming a partnership with Napster.
I think people have told us in the past that they really want to be able to pay artists money for for access to the service, and so we're trying to provide a way for them to do that.
Sean began work on a program that would allow Napster to charge users for the songs they downloaded. Then, on February 12, 2001, Napster was hit by a new legal setback.
The days of free music with Napster, folks, are over.
The Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals ruled that Napster could not operate until it could guarantee that users were not swapping copyrighted material. Once a musical lifeline, Napster went offline.
The decision pretty much writes Napster's epitaph.
It appeared that Goliath had finally crushed David.
It was impossible to create a fee-based model amidst the speculation and litigation that was going on.
In May 2002, the Bertelsmann Group bought Napster for $8 million. 5 months later, a judge blocked the proposed sale, all but ending any hopes of Napster's survival. But while Napster is history, 21-year-old Sean is not.
I think he's making music, trying to start some bands, trying to start a label. He's really into it.
I find things that inspire me, and it's more powerful than anything that I've ever felt. It's an inspiration that I really can't control, and so I found that with Napster.